Do you think there's been free speech on the campaign trail?
Yes, good morning. Yeah, I would say there is. Look, I think we need to keep these conversations within context. It won't surprise you. The Free Speech Union is concerned by an erosion of free speech that is occurring in our culture, but that's not happened all at once, and all things considered, we do still have the right to participate. We will go to the polls tomorrow if we haven't, and we will have heard free and open exchanges of ideas. What we are seeing within our political culture is still relatively robust free speech, I would say.
All right. I think it has been typified, though, and this is hard to put your finger on it. We saw it in the debate last night. The screaming of racist by certain parts of the political spectrum against those who would oppose them or come up with different ideas, particularly into genuine and legitimate debate about the role and interpretation of the Treaty of Waitangi in relation to things like co-governance, Jonathan.
That's right. So the rise of ad hominem attacks that try and cast entire subjects and areas of concerns that many Kiwis are going, hang on a second, I've just got some questions here, and they're not being allowed to raise them. I think we are finding that more in our culture. But Sean, this is what I often say, that the rot doesn't start with our politicians. It doesn't start in our law. It starts a long way before that. And if we're only noticing it by the time it's been put into our laws, which is really one of the last steps, we're cottoning in on way too late. And so I think if we want to talk about free speech over the past 3 years, how many people are losing their jobs because they've said things that others didn't like? And when you look at the COVID mandates and the fact that we have represented or are now representing many medical professionals who have lost their jobs, I think this is where the conversation of free speech needs to orientate. And we look at the fact that, as you said in your intro, the major parties didn't want to be talking about these issues. They didn't want to be talking about it during the lockdowns. They didn't want to be talking about it during the mandates. They didn't want to be talking about it during the parliament protests. And they certainly don't want to be talking about it now. Now, I can get that from a political perspective. I think you've commented in your shows around the fact that, Luxon in particular has tried to play a very safe game because all he has to do is not screw it up. And so you can accept why he doesn't want to necessarily come out swinging on some of these issues. But it does point to a very timid form of leadership that is allowing this erosion to continue, I think.
I also asked a question on Twitter last night. How different do you think the election result would be? And this is my attitude, and everyone knows this is my hobby horse, with a truly impartial, unbiased and ethical mainstream media. And boy, I've had some response to that tweet. Including 787 likes, 6 quotes, 69 reposts, and 10.8 thousand views in, a few hours, which suggests to me that the context in which we have our discussions is limited by, I would say, the failing or the dropping faith in our mainstream media, who convey most of and share most of the information that we as voters consume.
Absolutely. And again, the statistic I keep coming back to is that in the recent research put out by Auckland University of Technology, 42% of Kiwis trust in mainstream media. And so when 6 in 10 almost don't, I'm not sure they have much to be crowing about. I'm not sure what other sector keeps their jobs when 6 out of 10 of the customers think that they're not doing their jobs in a way that we can be comfortable or trust. And so I think we will continue to see this erode until we see leadership in that space that invests in some basic values that are founded on free speech, that are founded on the fact that you put out information, you put out facts, you put out the expression, and you let other people decide. And what's interesting, Sean, is we come up against our opponents frequently that say, well, why you guys don't care? You don't care about any underpinning view. You don't care about any substance. As long as people have free speech, that's all you care about, right? And I say nonsense. Yes, we don't get into the substance of debates, but we care very much about what free speech produces. And that's the only reason I care about free speech. I'm not in this fight because I have some bizarre ideological affinity with free speech. I'm in this fight because I think it works. It's because I think it leads us to democracy. It leads us to social cohesion. It enables us to discover truth and to expose error. And so that is really the motivation of why I and the team that I lead do this work. And I would say that unless journalists, and you're not sure, it's not all doom and gloom. I think, the emergence of an outlet like yours over the past parliamentary term points to the fact that at first there are at least alternatives, and in the future I think there will be real competition for those who don't engage more open-mindedly and allow others and their listeners to make up their mind. So I think there is some silver lining on this as well.
I thank you for that. Look, the other thing I wanted to ask you and I think the suppression, the Big Brother vibe has come from one side of the political spectrum. If we get a change on Saturday, a change of government, no matter what the nuances of that change are, I think there is a presumption by some that a lot of these cultural war battles are over. And I've looked and analysed the attitudes and the proclivities of those who will be in power. And I thought, no, these battles aren't over. It's not victory if the centre-left is out of power in New Zealand. These issues will still be live, and free speech will still be under threat.
I can't agree enough with you on that. And that's primarily for two reasons. The first being that drum that I keep on banging, that we have not landed in this position because Jacinda Ardern got elected to government. That is just, we get this this correspondence to our work saying that Jacinda Ardern was the one who took a scalpel to New Zealand social cohesion, and before that we were a utopia. And it's nonsense. This is an issue that we must consistently address, and we did not get in the struggles we have because of the Labour government or because of a centre-left perspective.